So Eleanor is asking, would you share an example of when an organization was helped to successfully do this? So when you helped an organization to successfully do this, how did you do it and what challenges did you overcome?
Well, I think I need to write a book just about that, but I can say something about that. I
Please
work
do.
in organizations that achieved agility at scale long before all the scaled framework were famous. Think about ThoughtWorks that ran the old company using lean and agile principles. Not only the delivery, but also the old company, the leadership, strategy, everything. And also in Scuderia Ferrari, Formula One team, software is just one part of the business. There is hardware, electronic, and then also the development of the car that where people use inspiration from the Toyota production system and lean. Manufacturing a car in just a few months compared to the years that it takes to create a commercial car necessarily require some degree of agility. In terms of challenges, I think I will go back to the principles. The first challenge is to believe that you have a big problem, a big company, that you need a big recipe. The second challenge is the mindset. I told one of the principal point about how important is people, and the mindset is to switch the mindset from focusing to processes, from processes to switch the focus to people. The second element of the mindset is the idea of being in a continuous status of research and development. Many organizations, many traditional organizations have this idea. I have a problem, tell me what is the right solution, and then I will implement the solution. Sorry, there is no recipes, there are only ingredients. And you know what? No one in this world can tell you which ingredients are good for you. You have to experiment, to learn, to adapt, and to evolve. There are no shortcuts, but most of the company try that, fail, but try that. So I usually come after they failed. I try sometimes to tell them before, but I usually after they fail, they say, okay, now we have to do things for real, and this is where I come and help. Well, I think those are pretty much
Okay, so Eleanor, if you want to come on mic, you're very welcome. Do you want to? And I like the way Luca used the relevant metaphor, given your cooking. He talked about the different recipes there. Does that answer your question? Do you have any follow-ups or?
Yeah, thank you so much, Luca. It gives me a lot of confidence, actually. I can imagine me repeating what you just said to me to the leadership team at the organization that I'm thinking of, and it kind of giving me reassurance to follow my gut, which is that it's all about the people. It's not about, there's not one way to implement it. You have to just take it step by step, and that what they're signing up for is being part of that continuous state of research and development. And that's all, yeah, really, really helpful. And having the example of Ferrari as well, that's great.
If you need, well, many times these decisions are not based on data, are based on other things. But if you need materials, the same link that Roy shared on the meetup, you find one link at the bottom of the homepage of the principles with a list of large organizations that did that, and an infographic that describe the commonalities among those that succeeded. I think that is powerful. If you need something, to back up your assessment and your approach. The other thing that is pretty rich in these things, this principle, if you look at the Google Doc, in every principle there is a pretty thick reference pointing to principle of leaders and books. So it's not just, these principles are not just invented there is a solid foundation. In the Google Doc, you can find all the references in case you need them to back your point.
So just a little note on the facilitation side, if everyone would take a look in Slido and start upvoting questions, because at the moment my two are still at the top, and that's embarrassing. So please, if you want to upvote mine, that's fine, but please take a look at everyone else's as well. Can I just slip in a couple of things there, Luca? I've got a little thing to say, just one sentence, and then I've got a challenging question for you. Is that okay? So Eleanor, just one other thing you might want to say to that leadership team is you need to be agile about the way you implement agile. If you try and just chuck a preformed quote agile onto something, that's the least agile thing you can do. No one will believe you're serious about agile if you're not being agile. Luca, my challenging question for you. You had ThoughtWorks, you had Ferrari F1 team. You talked about different ingredients, different recipes. Can you say anything? Obviously, I'm aware of confidentiality, but is there anything you can say about the differences that you noticed in what you had to do in the different scenarios?
Well, just to mention some big difference between Ferrari and ThoughtWorks. Just to mention one, in ThoughtWorks, some of the roles were diversified. So you have testers, business analysts, and developers. In Ferrari, we were pretty fluid in terms of roles. So we had engineers working as developers, testers, DevOps, IT operation guys, and business analysts. We were doing everything, and that was what was working well. Another big difference is the starting point. In Ferrari, there is an understanding that you are living in an environment that is fast and that is constantly changing. So there you have movable deadlines and you have a constant reality check that you cannot escape. In other organizations, the biggest challenge is to convince them to avoid procrastination and to go through those feedback loops and to learn from those. In other organizations, the bigger challenge is the culture from the leadership. Other times instead is a development team that are used to work in a certain way, like working alone, doing their bit, and being happy of just doing that small work in a box without having to deal with everyone else. So every organization needs different things and also different level of agility. In Ferrari, when you have to react to changes that happens in real time, is not the same things that happen in some other business where things are changing more slowly. So there really is no one size fits all.
Great, thank you. It gives a sense of the differences. Thank you, Luca. So Jeff, your question has got 4 votes. Would you like to come on mic and ask away to Luca?
Sure, no problem. Greetings, everyone. Greetings, Luca and Roy. So part of the problems that I've experienced in scaling things is that you start to touch on very sensitive areas of an organization, specifically finance and HR. And so one of the problems that I've had is to try and build safety around these areas, because especially for finance and even with compensation plans, for example, people are very sensitive when discussing these topics and trying to change these. So how do you create or even manage that safety process in scaling so that these areas of the organization don't impede the agility of the rest of the organization?
There are many things I'm thinking. one thing that is on us intended as the change agent, and also on us that are part of the industry that deliver change, is that often we forgot how long it takes to change things and to learn new things. Try to learn a new sport, try to play a new instrument, try to learn something new. Is it something you can do in a 2 days training? I don't think so. And if you go to a serious professional that has spent years in building up the skills to do things right, and you go to them and tell them, oh, we are going to change everything upside down in 2 days, I expect that the serious professional come to you and say, or to me, and say, you are crazy. Yes, that's the right answer. So that's on us, setting realistic expectation and doing incremental improvement. The other part is the people side, and it is about involving people, solving real problem, learning about the history of what has happened and what has been tried before, not going to them with the predefined recipe, being humble and talking in the face of real experience, and not repeating recipes that too often people sell from a standard deck of slides prepared elsewhere, or even prepared internally in the organization in an ivory tower without talking with the people once. I know that Roy is very strong in coaching, creating change without creating resistance. That's definitely another angle, and it's mainly relationship. I don't know, Roy, if you want to say something about this angle too, given that's your area of expertise.
I'd absolutely love to say more about that. I'm afraid I might be slightly, because I've been focusing on other things, I'm afraid I might be slightly off kilter here, but let me try, see if it makes sense. So my idea with generating change without generating resistance is a coaching approach that starts off very, very much aligned with what Luca's been saying. Hey guys, what are we trying to achieve here? And not just asking the senior leadership, asking everybody, what is it we're trying to achieve here? When we're trying to go agile, or when we're trying to scale agile, whatever it is we're trying to do. And that establishes what people really want. And once you've got people on, once you've got people thinking about the sort of change they want to bring about, if then it's possible to empower, enable them to start bringing that change about, you're not generating resistance. You're enabling change to happen, and it can enable change to happen in an agile way. Was that helpful and relevant?
So in other words, from what I can take from you and Luca, is that there's a lot of negotiation up front in order to make the change, in order to create that safe space.
I'd absolutely say there's a lot of communication and negotiation, and I'd be careful about doing too much upfront, because then you can get into waterfall. My whole angle here would be,
okay,
let's
got it.
change agile.
I understand. Then upfront was the wrong choice in my wording, but I get it. Yes.
We're in the same page. Yeah, cool. Excellent.
And
Thank you.
let me add just very quick. It's not negotiation. Is about listening. First, you need to understand. Second, and that go back to the principles, especially from complex adaptive system, is accepting diversity and variety. Many come with standard approaches because it's easy. You put it on a deck, you put it on Excel, you can draw, and everyone will follow that drawing. No, it's about growing and giving space to diversity. The human element is different when you study complexity with animals or with cells in biology. We are all different, extremely different, and you have to accept diversity. Every team, every department is different. So that is key.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
We can move to the next question. And also, I saw someone posting a question on the chat. Let's remember, you need to post the question on Slido.
Yeah, I think Jason's Jason's doing that. So thank you. I shall unpin you from the spotlight, JF. And the next question appears to have me back in the spotlight. Sorry, folks, I didn't mean to be dominating this. So my question is, when you mentioned like sometimes you've got 7 people and 70 people actually doing the same thing, the only difference being the 70 got stuck in the loop of doom. What I'm wondering is it that you've just got a better organization of people here, or is it that you've got 7 really talented people who can do it without the extra overhead?
So I noticed different cases. Sometimes it's the organization. In one of the organization, I'm telling you an extreme case. That was an organization in US. The group of people was very small, and they were paid a large part of their revenue was based on the revenue on the company. So when the company was doing really well, they were earning a lot of money. And there was a guy helping with the cloud coming from YouTube. So can you imagine how many crazy technical ideas that guys could have doing stuff on the cloud? But then he look at the situation and say, oh, you know, if we go on Iron, if we buy physical server for what we are doing now, it will cost less. There was no ego. There was no experimentation to do the craziest things because it's cool. There was a trade-off choice because it was based about what is good for this business now. That was one element. The second element, going back to the principles, dependencies. An organization that understands that technical excellence have a huge business impact. Nowadays, there's no more separation between business and technology. Technology is the business, and business is built around technology. Technical excellence is fundamental. And then the third element, yes, there is an element also of good people, and I learned it in Ferrari while working there, thanks to those extremely fast feedback, because they put the action and the consequences close to each other and make it very easy to learn, even for me. And so the people in Ferrari, what we learned there is that you can learn technical excellence on the book, but the next step, what makes you a real professional, is having the ability to do what is right technically, what excellence means for your business, and do that in context. So this is the people. Last topic, some companies think that the best way to do that is to save money on people. So they hire people that they do not trust, and then they create processes to dealing with that people. And in those organizations, I saw them 3 people working and 17 managers or leaders around them to make them work. Do you believe that? I work in that situation. It's not the meme going on internet or that picture of the guy and everyone looking. That was a reality.
So 3 engineers and 17 managers, literally.
17, not 70, but 17.
Wow.
That reminds me of NHS.
Sorry?
I said that reminds me of the NHS.
Let's not go there. Okay, so thank you for that, Luca. I'm going to bring in Nicole next, and I'm going to spotlight you, Nicole. Along with Luca, I was hoping to, so that didn't quite work out the way I was hoping. But by the way, is this spotlighting working for people? Are you seeing the? Yeah, great. So I'm adding Luca and Nicole to the spotlight. So it's over to you guys. Nicole, you ask away. What's your question?
Yeah, so sorry, I have a quite long-winded question, and that's why I couldn't add it in at all. But basically, you mentioned earlier on that one of the principles is to kind of look at the amount of people, because with people, the more people you have, the more teams you have, the more dependencies you have, right? The natural sort of loom of doom there, you called it. And I can very much relate to that. That's my biggest issue I have, literally one of the biggest problems we have as a scale up. However, I'm wondering of what can you actually do about it? Because the reasons why, for example, teams are growing and we're building more and more and more product teams or cross-functional teams, whatever you want to call it, is the fact that there's more demand to more features and more products due to certain, you know, market situation, due to sales, due to demand, and whatever you want to call it. And to keep up with that, and in order to sort of keep agile within our teams, it's sort of been decided, okay, we need a new team to deal with that. We can't handle it with the current. But that sort of brought us in a situation where you're literally looking at like 30, 35 product teams, which is slightly insane. Or not insane, but as you mentioned, it brings, right? I mean, when we're trying to run across team projects, it's just a vast amount of, as you said, conversations. You have to have 50 people in the room just to have like a stand-up to go across a board which shows a project. So, and that's just at the moment is a huge pain point. But at the same time, how can I convince someone to stop hiring and let's just have 10 teams, because that makes it easier, because it doesn't fix the problem that then we can't keep up with the demand. We can't build the same stuff with 10 teams than we can with 30, right? How do you go about that?
So there are two things. The per se adding team, if teams are working on different things, are autonomous and independent, is not bad. So the difference is scaling out versus scaling up. Scaling up, it means that you need to have a stand-up with hundreds of people because you are all working together. So you are accumulating dependencies and scaling up. What is good is scaling out, creating independent teams that can work on different things together. So it's like creating a new organization. You need to trust them, you need for them to be autonomous and to do things. So you cannot be the manager that look at everything, but still they can autonomously work in parallel. And if you want to do that, at marketing, sales, and technical level, you have to remove dependencies that are artificial, are created artificially. So that's the thing. The other thing you mentioned, how do I convince? So I work in Ferrari at the time where there was something that is incredible to say, the so-called no budget limit. You can spend all the money that you want. We are winning. We want to continue to win. And we are making so much money that you can spend it. We are making money faster. Still then, bringing people in, teaching them how to become productive, and dealing with the additional communication cost was not effective. If you look at principles number 9, if I remember correctly, so no, number 8, there is a limit to how much you scale. Giovanni Asproni made the graph about that. You find it in the Google Doc together with all the reference, and you can start to measure the throughput. And then you see that adding teams, the curve of productivity goes up, at some point start to go down. Actually, you are going slower and you are not catching up, ramping up later. You're just going worse.
There is that additional, for me, that makes total sense. And that's what I always say is bringing in more people, you slow down before you can go faster, right, in the end. But, and that's even on a team level. But there is that notion, or at least what I've seen in certain leadership people, that, you know, we're hiring all these people, so clearly we must be able to do a lot more, which is just, it's the one thing where I'm like, you know, and I know this is coaching and leadership, but unfortunately it's also at a level where I don't necessarily have at the moment that empowerment to influence that sort of level. So I'm slightly, you know, I'm not exposed to that, or I'm not in those kind of meetings where that would be needed to kind of say, look, this is not how it works, because naturally you're going to go down before you go up, right? So that and I see that as the biggest misconception of, you know, that you can throw an army on it, but that doesn't solve the problem here. You make it worse.
Yeah.
How would you go about those kind of conversation? Like, how would you, is there anything helpful I can use to?
So here's the graphic that I was mentioned before. I guess this is the magic from Roy, pointing the graphic here. This graphic, as many of the things that you find in the principles, have a strong foundation. These principles consolidate the wisdom of the Agile community and many, many years of work. So you can use those references if you need to back your assertion. The other suggestion is to visualize, to collect data and show them. So you can point authors and the principles and the content that is trustworthy and reliable and is pointed to the principle. You can also visualize the throughput using the graphic, the graph that Giovanni suggested, and is based on another principle, Hamdal principles. Another thing that you do if you are working at team level is to work relentlessly to remove and lose up dependencies in order to make the team autonomous. In one of the principles, there is a link to a collection of
Luca, calm down.
A collection
Carry on, Luca.
practices, and one of the link contain a list of practices to loosen up dependencies, like collective code ownership, like inner sourcing, and other stuff like that, so that your teams can start to become more autonomous.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you very much. That's very helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'd like just to add two little things there. A book that goes so far back in time, it's often forgotten about. It's called The Mythical Man Month.
Mm-hmm.
So this has been known about since 1960 something. You know,
Would you posting that in the chat, please? Just a title.
Yeah. Okay. And
great.
the other thing I would say is you could just a little phrase you can drop in. I want that baby in 1 month. Put 9 women on the job.
Exactly, that's exactly what we are using, right? You can bring in nine women, but it doesn't deliver the baby in a month. So that's exactly what we're trying, but it's just not like it's just like, what else can I do? It's not settling right, you know.
Yeah, good luck. Good luck.
Thank you.
My pleasure. My pleasure. So the next question.
Roy, may I ask something to that?
Please do. Come on in. Yeah. So yeah, you can.
So sorry for my ignorance, but if it were just about the knowledge, it would apparently not be a topic. So my question is like, who do I need to convince, or who needs to be invited, or what else? Because knowledge about all of these principles is apparently not the factor that keeps people from doing this. So what is actually needed to, I don't know, to actually make a difference and make a change in the organization? Do you know what I'm asking? Like, who do I need to reach or something like this?
You are suggesting a question that she should make it to his leadership. Oh, there you go, Nicole. I think she's suggesting it to you.
I think what you're asking is like how it's exactly that, right? Like you tell them and you give them all those phrases, but that alone isn't enough. So what do you need to do, right? And I yeah, to be honest, that's exactly what I'm struggling with. It's like I have certain people I can influence very well, and I can bring certain people in a room, but those people are just not enough, or it doesn't trigger any further. So what else, which other forum or how else do I go about if I don't have a direct line to, and in the end, it's basically it's the CEO we're talking about, right? If he doesn't embed that behavior, and if he is the worst offender of having the belief of bringing in an army to fix my problems, then there's.
And can you do an experiment like Luca was saying at the beginning about, you know, due diligence and having and comparing these two companies against each other? If you could compare internally a small, really kind of productive team, really tight-knit team against a bigger team, that would, data often helps, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true. We sort of again, we just started really with bigger projects and stuff, and we have thought about, can we attack one project by putting in people from where those dependencies are in a separate smaller group, and then, you know, use that as an example versus everyone works on this thing. We just haven't found the right I think that the struggle we have at the moment is we have also a big legacy system where our dependencies on each other is the teams are just not as autonomous as you like them to be really independent. And therefore that's exactly why I find myself with like 100 different product owners in a room and go like, this is crazy. Like, I shouldn't be talking to all of you. Like, how am I gonna, you know, how am I gonna get you all in one room? I mean, even the calendar option is not an option. So this is exactly it. So I'm struggling with the technicalities behind it, because there is just dependencies. How do I remove those? But at the same time, the fact that behind me, that everything is growing and growing and growing, because, you know, I have that CEO who wants everything tomorrow and yesterday, you know. I'm literally living the life of a proper scale up, yeah, sort of environment, and I don't even know where to go, like which case of, like, which sort of, you know, box of worms I'm opening first to kind of, you know. So that's how I feel at the moment. So anyhow, appreciate it.
So two little thoughts here, Nicole. One is, remember, you know, politics is the art of the possible. Persuasion isn't always easy. Don't expect too much of yourself. Yeah, this may not be possible. Second thought is, you know, this is a game of influence. Where anytime there's a game of influence, what you want to be doing is working out what really matters to the CEO. And if, you know, my guess is that you know, hard data about it's not getting you what you want is likely to be the only time when minds get changed here. That would be my guess. Is that enough, Nicole?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Fantastic. Check out the chat. There's a couple more books that have been suggested, at least one more, and mine, I put one in there. I shall unspotlight Claire and Nicole, and I would like to spotlight Anonymous, but you can understand my challenge with that. So Anonymous has asked a question about how to deal with big egos. You're beautifully demonstrating not having a big ego by not telling us who you are. But if you would be prepared to come on mic and ask the question, that would be really handy. If not, then I can just read it out. Okay, I shall read it out. So the question is how to deal with big egos who go, I mean, this is so on point to the last question, isn't it? How to deal with big egos who go on against data and proof, overruling with their insights, leading sometimes with fear. Status and power can't be left out, right? So how to deal with that, Luca?
I will apply the 2 feet rule, walk away. Just walk away. There is better things to do that you can do in your life than serving a big ego. If that is your problem and you cannot work around that, and the organization let this person be dysfunctional and create a dysfunctional environment, go away. If I have a big ego and I go to a professional to deal with that, I will have to work years to fix my big ego and to get better into that. And I'm talking about years. It's not something that you can fix for someone that is not willing to. And I guess you are not that type of doctor that you can solve that problem. So walk away. That's not our job. There are medical professions that deal with that.
I think it's even beyond the medical. I think we're talking about the spiritual here.
Yeah. I saw different books suggested in the chat, and I would like really to suggest to open the Google Doc of the principles. Many of the books that came up indeed are in the references. And if you look at the principles, you find a connection between the principles and exactly that book. So it helps to based on what you want to achieve, it helps to find out which book or which principles to use. I also saw Giovanni Asproni, that is the other co-authors, joining the session. So my other author of this work is somewhere here around. I cannot see, but Giovanni.
He's not on camera, he's undercover, he says in the chat. So if you want to come forward, Giovanni, you're very welcome. Great to have you here as the celebrity of the occasion. Oops.
I didn't want to spoil the thing for Luca. Sorry.
No, come on, Giovanni. I need help. I'm alone.
You are doing very well.
So the next question is from Don McClellan. Don, while I try and get Zoom to spotlight you, would you like to start asking your question?
Yeah, hi, thanks. Probably on topic, actually, I see lots of people referring to team topologies. We have a problem in one of our products, which has about 6 development teams that work on this product, and they all own different services within the product. So to deliver a business outcome, a feature for our clients, often we might need 2, 3, or even 4 teams to collaborate together to deliver that outcome. And obviously that makes planning a nightmare, butterfly effects on plan as you can imagine, go out.
Exactly, yeah.
Some teams work on low priority features because they can't get the time of another team they need to collaborate on. So we recognize this and try to remove the dependencies. But in doing so, it's quite a large code base, and the teams feel it's too big a cognitive load to split into 6 autonomous teams that can take on anything. So we're trying to use team topologies to help understand how much cognitive load each team can really bear and share that out and reshape the ownership. But even so, we still end up with dependencies and I just wonder how you would recommend balancing those 2 concerns of cognitive load and dependencies.
So Don, thank you for your example. I think that you brought in a real case example of that loops of DOM that I was describing in the beginning. And the choice to break down things is right. It takes time. So in those cases where it worked for me, I had the backup of the leadership, or the technical lead in the organization were supporting, going us gradually in that direction. Going back exactly to your questions, there are things that may help. Something like collective code ownership again, or inner sourcing. So even the dependencies are there, but one team enable other teams to work on that. It means that, for example, we used to do the planning in 2 parts. The first part, we all discuss together what we are working on. And if my team is working on one part, it will take care of all the code, regardless who own it. But then we'll have help from the other teams or the other experts to design or to make the key decision in order to do the work. So I have these things where I use other people's expertise just where is needed, but then the heavyweight work, I can do it by myself now that I got the support, because I can also make changes in that part of the code. So that would help me. The developers that were working, the technicians that were working in that environment were paying a lot of attention. So always, every time they were changing one part of the code, they were doing a big analysis of where this is used, where this is used. So people take a lot of care of what are the side effects and the consequences, and eventually go and ask the right people. Giovanni, you're very technical. Is there anything? No, it is undercover. Giovanni, something? Go.
I'll come out of my cover. So one thing also to do there is probably, review the code base, understand what is the underlying design there, because you may find some natural lines to split the code base to, and then you can assign each part to a different team. Yeah. Okay, so to reduce the cognitive load. Of course, if it is legacy code, it's not going to be very clean. Yeah, it might be there is stuff that is used where it shouldn't be used and things like this. But you need to have an understanding on the general shape, and then you can work with the teams along those lines. Yeah, and then do follow what the Luca recommendations. Basically, if you are doing some feature, you belong to a different team, still you have the others that can help you. So you can have a situation where you use basically the virtual feature teams, if you like. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all great advice. We're trying some of that at the moment, but it kind of sounds like, I think maybe back to Luca's point, that actually valuing that enabling function that people provide requires freeing up a little bit of time to allow them to fulfill that role, and not trying to account for every hour of the day.
Actually, one other thing that is generally difficult to accept, but is important, is to avoid overloading people. So projects where people are busy 100% of the time, you'll just see the mess going up. Yeah. And reducing the load to, say, I don't know, 70%, 60% actually will make them faster, because they will have time to tackle all these kind of problems. Yeah. So, and you'll probably see that if you actually check with your technical people, they probably know what they want to do, and they probably know the code base well enough to actually fix it if they are given the permission to do that.
Yeah, you're reading my mind. I was thinking about that. Ask the team if they need more time. They probably know the answer if they need the space. They know that.
And if they are reluctant to give answers, there might be other issues you want to tackle in the company. Yeah, because often when the teams don't give you clear answers on these things, is because maybe they tried in the past and they were actually punished. They were deemed uncooperative, or or they were told all the time, there is no time for this because we need to deliver stuff. So basically they give up. Yeah. So you need to sense this as well, if it is the case or not. I don't know your situation. I'm saying just from what I've seen in my experience, this is often.
I think that kind of relentless pressure of delivery is certainly there, but in the same sense, we have made time to actually do some of these things you're talking about, and look for sensible splits in the code base. But no. But thanks. All that advice has been really, really helpful and useful. So,
great. Thank you, guys.
Watching at the library behind Giovanni, you see which one is the intelligent one.
No, I just buy them. They sell them by the meter for just to make the room look better.
So let me bring in Chris, who's got the currently trending question. Chris, I'll spotlight you now. Yes, so if you'd like to ask away.
Yeah, thanks, Roy. I think that we've possibly answered aspects of this question already through kind of the experimentation indicators kind of things that we've already talked about. But the kind of main question is, what advice could you give, or anyone on the call can give, when there's an executive push, so this kind of push down from the top, scale too quickly or too early, while I'm learning from the call tonight, when you're still in that test the need to actually scale first?
Well, I think I will reuse some of the things that has been said before. I start from one that the lady suggested before. I forgot the name, but you say asking to the executive why. What is the reason behind this rush? What problem? Also, Roy suggested something similar. what problem are you trying to solve, to address? And because my first, I'm here presenting some concept and some ideas, so I will naturally go on the angle that it is, look, you find a lot of backing in what I described. You find documents that say that rushing to scale is less effective. Yeah, that one angle, but even before going there, I will try to understand what is the motivation behind that. I know that there are few elements in traditional organizations that tend to go there. The idea to identify scaling as a program that have a start date, an end date, and a set of fixed milestones. And then given that you call external people to do that, that sell those programs, I'm talking about big consultancy firms, and they want to buy a project, then it needs to be short, 1 year, 2 years. So everything is rushed. If you look at the article that I collected with all those companies, you see that these changes took many years, from 5 to 10 years. So it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. What is your thought, Chris? Why do you think the exec is pushing?
I think I'm seeing new roles, kind of attempting to bring new roles into the company. And it's interesting, you mentioned the question, what problems are you trying to solve? That was the exact question I asked a few people last week. And I think they were somehow surprised by that question. And I think it's the surprise of, there's someone in the business who's questioning the execs as to the roles they're trying to put in place. And I'm seeing these roles as just coming in. It looks like it's going to be a bit, getting a bit top heavy, and that's some of the other questions people are asking. And I can't understand from reading, say, job descriptions or things like that, exactly what problem we're trying to solve here, because I observe the whole business from my point of view and my role. And over the last kind of few days reading these roles we're trying to bring in, it's trying to understand, okay, what are we actually trying to solve here? What are the problems that are around the business that these roles are actually going to suddenly make things go away? I think that's the situation our business is in at the moment, trying to scale by just bringing all these roles in that we don't necessarily understand.
Yeah, and sometimes it's less common, but sometimes asking the question and knowing the answer can clarify everything, and you could also be surprised and say, okay, now that I understand what you want to achieve and I see the old design, the old picture, it may even make sense and be a good thing. But yeah, one need to know, and the fact that there is not a clear vision about what is the goal, it's kind of a smell, because the first thing that you want to do when you want to scale, that is about people need to know what's happening, why, how can they contribute to that, and what is their role in this big change. People need to know if we want to empower people, if they want to have anonymous teams and individuals, a lot of things in parallel. That's what you need when you scale. They need to know where they are going, what they are doing, and what is going on and why.
Yeah, you mentioned empowerment and autonomous there. I think that was two of the words I used again last week about those are the fears I'm fearing will be taken away from people who are kind of already in these teams that I feel are empowered, are anonymous. Bringing these new roles in will suddenly make them feel unempowered. They won't kind of experiment anymore because they're fearful of what other people will think of these new people in these roles coming in. So I think the fear I've got is empowerment will be taken away or just drift away, to be honest, I think.
Yeah, the only comment that I will add on my side is that sometimes I saw things from the other side, working with executives and working with the leaders that were leading the change and the scaling. And they were so busy that they did not have the time to communicate with everyone. So they were doing something that were sensible, that they were meaningful. they just did not have the bandwidth to talk with everyone, and they underestimate the importance. So my suggestion to you is remain positive, keep a positive attitude, ask a question not in a way that is adversarial or challenging, but with curiosity. Look at that, and you are smart. When things go in the wrong direction, you can see that in advance, years before, and then there is always the option, the 2-feet option, run away. If you see something that is going in the wrong direction and you see it ahead of everyone, you are in the best position to react in the way that is best for you.
Thanks, really useful.
That might be a nice spot to finish that attitude of it's the prime directive, isn't it? Assuming everyone, including senior executives, are doing the very best they can in the situation, and always approaching the situations with curiosity and a desire to see how things can be better. So thank you, Chris. Let me unspotlight us all. So remove spotlight, remove spotlight. So hopefully you can now get us all back into gallery view. Just to finish off, what I'd like us to do is just to put one sentence into the chat about what's been most valuable for you listening to Luca speaking this evening. So much has come out. I'm sure we've all got lots of different things. We've got a sketch note from Sabrina. We've got 3 sketch notes from Sabrina, which hopefully she can share with us. We'll put them on LinkedIn and we'll email them out. And yeah, if you just put in the chat just one thing you've got from this evening that's going to be useful for you, and then we'll wrap up. So as you're, I'm not alone. Yes, you are not alone. So yeah, John's appreciating Luca's experience and knowledge. And I'd second that. Thank you so much. You know, tremendous depth of experience here.
Thank you, John. Thank you for the nice comment. Kind comment.
Scaling the wrong way hurts. It's true. It's true.
Giovanni's principles.
It's just great to see you, Luca. I think the last time I saw you was before lockdown, so it's great to see you.
Yeah, we have a beer that is waiting us.
We do, definitely.
You do.
I hope it's not going to go stale. So just to finish off, I've got something I'm going to post in the chat in a moment when it stops scrolling past. 3 things. One is we can continue the conversation. There's a tiny URL, s-principles, which is a place where we can continue the conversation in the Google Doc that Luca's been talking about. Yeah, so as you're reading the Google Doc, Luca's very keen, and I'm guessing Giovanni as well, very keen to have comments, questions. You can't edit the thing itself, but you can put comments, you can put questions. There's a little plus icon at the top on Google Docs, and they're really keen to interact in that way. Another thing, there is a bug in the universe. There is a serious bug in the universe. I don't know what the bug is, but I think we should do something about debugging it. The symptom of the bug is that Luca currently is underemployed. Let's fix that. Yeah, there's a catalogue, not just a CV. There's a catalogue of what Luca can do for people. So please, this is the second thing I'm going to post. Do have a look at the catalogue there. See if you can think of anyone who can benefit from Luca's input, or maybe you don't even need the catalogue. Yeah, he can help you turn a situation where there's an organization that needs 70 people, they only need 7. They don't need all this scaling stuff. Yeah. So if you know of an organization that could do with that, Luca's your man. If you want more of these events, there's a link to my site as well. Thank you, Giovanni. Thank you everyone for coming. It's been a lot of fun. And thank you especially to Luca for sharing so generously, and Giovanni as well, sharing so generously of your expertise, your time, your experience. Been really inspiring. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to you, Roy, for the great organization, and to you and to everyone. Great question. Thank you, guys. Good night, everyone.
Take care and have a good evening, afternoon, whatever time zone you're in. Take care and hope to see you all soon.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Plenty to read and digest.
Absolutely.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Luca, for sharing all of the information on the GDoc. This is, I feel like someone's giving me jewels just to give away to the universe. So thank you so much.
Nice to hear. Thank you, Sabina. Nice for the feedback. Very happy to hear that.